Okay, this lesson for the Cornet Project class concerns divine discretion demonstrated. So we'll demonstrate it, see what the disputes are about. We'll notice why theism is discussed only in formed categories accordingly, that is, open or closed. We know the Bible teaches living theism. That would be the ideal category as we were trained in systematic theology. Not only take a systematic approach, but categorical approach. In hermeneutics, make sure we use all the tools, use Bible words as our research parameter. And of course, in the Greek and Hebrew language classes, notice inflectional morphemes, stay in the context there, lexical, syntactical analysis. So we'll notice why, which if you've been in this class for as many years as most of you, you'll notice it's quite obvious when you see formed categories are far, far apart. So that assures catalysis that is, and friction. They're deliberately irreconcilable. And there's really no effort out there to be bridging knowledge gaps like that. That would not serve the interest outside the ecclesia. But in the ecclesia, we're interested in how to learn the text, what is it for us to know, so we can study this. So let's look at, I think it's Revelation 2:21, Jezebel. And I'm using the TR text. And this is what was said by Jesus in the letter to that church where Jezebel was leading others to participate in fornication. And Jesus said, indeed, now this is conjunction, but I'm using it as emphatic use here. Indeed, edoka, I gave, and then of course, aute, to her, notice the iota subscript, to her, chronon, from what we say, chronos, first word in chronology, so time, and then the purpose clause, hina, in order that. Now that's his prerogative, that's his discretion. That's the word in Jeremiah 10:12, and it's tavun. You remember that word? It's a cross, a sun, a nail, and life. And then the word for life, that letter nun, the word it represents is life, and the picture's fish, like ichthys. So we'll move on. In order that, and we'll learn here was the purpose, meta, ase, in order that she might, aorist subjunctive, in order that she could, would, and should. This is that verb mind, in association with, run out of room here, in association with. And he says here that she should mind in association with, out from, and out from taste. Remember, we're just freehanding here, so we can check our spelling later for nay. Out from, then autes. That's genitive of this locative instrumental data, to her. So of her particular, just put the letter P in front of this definite article, articular. It's an articular noun, which means it has a definite article. And this is fornication. So her particular fornication. And it says, kai and not mete, no, I think it's just metanosin. That would be where we'd find our augment. And then I'll just put my own question here. I'm not sure if I left that out or not. But it says, and she did not mind in association with. Now, she didn't mind in association with the purpose for which the time was given, nor the time that was given, granted, nor with the grace and favor to have done so. And it was his discretion, and it was his to purpose that. So when it comes to divine discretion, let's look at that word just momentarily. Tabun. And you remember this is, its symbol is cross. This is sun. This is nail. And this is life. And then let's say the animal, the creature, it represents as fish. And let me see, that was ichthys, if you remember that letter. Ichthys, Jesus Christ, God's Son. Jesus Christ, God's Son. Oh, I left out the epsilon. And God's Son, Savior. There, and you sometimes see that on cars, and you see the fish symbol. But it's translated discretion, and it refers to intelligence. And in the Psalms, it says God's intelligence is infinite. So to question, well, did he really mean to give her time? Well, it says he purposed to give her time so that she couldn't have without the time. And she certainly would not have without the command. Again, it's similar to the banter about middle knowledge when we have the conditional particle if and it's possible. But why we today still question how the Bible's written, or we might be disappointed, or we may avoid texts that don't cooperate with our construct. That's go study now that you have computers, and go back and notice where highly respected, reputable theologians, iconically speaking, they're like icons today. Constructs are named after them, and yet you go and read they were very disappointed in the text, and even suggested how it would have been better written had they done it, and even questioning Paul, the original authors of the, quote, original autographs. And so it's very interesting to see that we can be disappointed. Now, one thing I want to do is show you the TR. That's a TR, but there's another text out there. And, oh yeah, I did leave out this. I have no idea why I did, because it's right there above my head there. All I do is just look up. That solves a lot of problems, doesn't it? There we go. But now let's look at the other Greek text that some prefer. Now I left this off too. But again, just start freehanding it, because if you don't use it, you'll lose it. Or if you never use it, you'll never have it. But in this, it's called morphological, just a minute. There it is, morphological Greek New Testament. It says after this word and here, let's just start there. It's, I'll just write GNT. It says thele. This is from thelo. You remember that term, thelo, desiring. And this says she is not desiring. That's usually willing. She is not willing. Now we know she was able, because with time she could, and with time the purpose was that she could, would, and now she was obligated, should, and she is not willing. And then it's same form here, but it's an infinitive. Meta, let me hold. Somebody's going to have to help me here. So we have the same word here, but notice this, the ending. There we go. So she was not willing to mind in association with. Let me see what else it shows, how different it is. Yeah, it's the same thing here. Out from the porneos of her particular fornication. So strange that some say one text is better than the other, which really, when it comes to this doesn't help those who simply say a trite expression like total or absolute determinism, or they say things like open or close rather than living, because this doesn't cooperate with any of that. This doesn't talk about her inability. Just as we know we have conjunction if in the Bible, we have divine discretion, we have time involved. We notice that he closed the window on Sodom and Gomorrah while they were still persuadable. We know he left the window of time open for Capernaum and those cities, knowing that they would be beyond persuasion, and he berailed them, saying that had the powers that had been worked before them been done in Sodom and Gomorrah, those cities would still be here today. So we can learn a lot from our language, but now it's disappointing, I guess, those of you that are using it, studying. And if you're outside the ecclesia, you just don't find a lot of places or venues. Try to be as contemporary as I can. You don't find a lot of coffee shop talk where people are. Now, most people, we have our camp, ecclesiastically speaking, and we have our theistic order. Perhaps you might be of a theistic order, or you have your ecclesiastic, perhaps doesn't even match the scripture, but it's your whatever, and we originate somewhere. Our parents could have been Catholic, Protestant, Judaic, Islamic, occultic, New Age, denominational, 1, 2 to infinity, and yet we all have the same call. We all have access to the same gospel that is, he stretched out the heavens according to his discretion. And Romans, it speaks of the heavens declare, Psalm 19, declare his glory. So the gospel in the stars of creation reveals the creator. No one's with an excuse. We have this knowledge. And Jesus actually gave her deliberately and intentionally with the purpose that she could, would, and should mind. He gave her time. He's the Lord and God of time, and it's his discretion. And it's very gracious that all this has been revealed. It's just disappointing because it'll never be any different than this. Always be fewer and fewer people actually invest any time to word things out. But it's really quite a relief when we notice that, look at this message. Look at how persuasive this is for us to see the example of that woman and what she refused to do and what it says she did not in this text. And then, of course, how, unless you're a textual critic, which I haven't met one and don't know one, how would you determine when someone said, well, this is better? Well, it doesn't help the argument that we're demonstrating. We're demonstrating the Bible teaches divine discretion, and it's according to living theism. And the question that I was trained to ask, is it true? And this is a true statement. What Jesus said is true. It's true he gave her time. It's true that we can know the purpose and that he gave her that time for this purpose, that she could, should, and would do it. It says she did not. You say, well, I want to go to a more critical, advanced text, and all you're going to find is she is not desiring. But it doesn't change the purpose, doesn't change the gift of time that he gave her. And as you grow older, you'll find out it is a gracious gift. In Psalm 90, God removed 90% of time from 100% of humanity. And as you get older, you become grateful for that. And thank God for his discretion to deter crime by decreasing our lifespan, and also that process of dying, we will die. So in all things, it's God's grace, it's his discretion. And this is true and real. So yes, we can put a We can agree with the Bible that this doesn't contradict or conflict with anything. We understand discretion is absolute. It's all His. We have living theism. We know this is true, what Jesus is saying, because in neither His conduct nor His words does He cooperate very often with our constructs. So He's the infallible, ultimate authority. So you have a blessed day. Enjoy this lesson.